What's good, man? Jonah, my man Dav over here. Got one of my best friends, Sonte Wong, and this is the Push and Weight Show.
And of course the courage in these veins, people passing the limits, a bunch of beasts broke off the chain. From the folks see them growing and reaching up to pass our peak though. Welcome to the Push and Weight Show.
So, Tay, man, what you been up to, bro? This, by the way, I want to introduce the proper way. The proper way. Okay, it's Sonte Wong, the speed guru. Okay, this is the speed guru, man. He's working with one of our athletes here, Alexis Bergman, working on her speed, and just in the few weeks, man, that you've worked with her, I've seen her speed. I've been to a couple games and I've seen her speed drastically change just in that little bit. So, man, I know you're a very humble guy, but at the end of the day, man, there's a reason that I told her parents about you, man, and the work's there, and the results are there. So, where'd you get started with all this, man? How did the speed guru become the guru?
That's a good question. Not one I get asked all the time. Let's see. How did I get started? I would say as a kid, I remember being drawn to the Olympics on TV. So Carl Lewis was the first person that I remember seeing on TV that attracted me. And I don't know. I grew up always racing, and where I'm from in Illinois, just a bunch of cousins and stuff, and people out around the neighborhood, everybody raced, and that was like a big deal. Like, I'll race you, and so it kept on going through school, and I always wanted to run track because I wanted to see what that was like. I would say that's pretty much how I got started.
Yeah, how you got started? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I remember racing when I was a kid. Always winning. I know Dav.
Listen, man. Y'all was racing. It looked like you was racing in the grass. Fluffy, man. We was out in the concrete, no shoes on, no shirt. Hey, 5 of us getting it in.
Racing.
That's one thing you don't see like you used to see. Like, I know me and my homies, we was like summertime, we out there, hot as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, not even summer, just all year round. But like my son, I ain't dogging you, Kingston. But other than practice,
No disrespect.
Yeah. Other than practice, I mean, Daddy, I can say this. Well, I brought you this world.
That's true.
But other than practice, like, he on that game.
Yeah.
And they upstairs, I'm hearing him and his whole team up there talking trash on the game.
Yeah.
Like, no outside, no none of that.
Yeah. So did that, but Kingston does play football. He's a freshman.
Yeah.
So now that season's over, he was in here this morning.
Bring them to you if you got some openings.
Man,
some openings.
Make them fast or make them big. Yeah. So I know you played some college football, right? And college track. A little Hall of Fame action there. So where was college at, man? Where'd you get your accolades that way?
I would say I always felt like there was something inside of me as a kid that people on the outside couldn't see. And I think recently I've come to realize that thing was God. And I just used to think it was me. But when I look at my story, the more it makes sense that he was, he put something in me, and it was up to me to work at it, to develop it. And that's what I did. And track and speed and racing was always fun. I didn't care that I lost, because if you race, you're going to lose. Right?
I mean, not me personally, but
right? That's different. I heard about your speed though. That's the thing is, people talk a lot of speed to me now, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so I've heard definitely that you were fast.
You heard that right.
For your size, he didn't put that part in.
Well, it was coming. You know, you got to always consider the source. The source didn't say for his size. The source said you should have seen Jonah.
Okay.
Right? So my brain tries to do the calculations.
Yeah.
So that that thing inside of me that I have learned that it was God. He was telling me that I placed something inside you, but it's not gonna just come to you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not just gonna just come to you. You are gonna have to work for it. It is gonna take time. Um, you are gonna get knocked down,
Mm.
and there are gonna be some dark days. But I always had fun learning about it.
Mm.
Yeah, I have fun learning about it, and um, when I realized that it wasn't just, hey, you're fast, hey, you're not,
Mhm.
because I saw,
What
oh,
do you
hey, you're fast, hey, I don't know, what I learned was that, hey, you're faster than him now,
Mhm.
but if he keeps working at it, he can close that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that saying? That hard work will always beat talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's true.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
You know, and I always tell people that, when he first started in here, and when a lot of people first started in here, I try and tell them, we're doing different things a different way as building blocks. Little bricks to build a house. And like he said a couple times, he was like, I just thought Jonah was making stuff up. When he first came in here, that's what a lot of people think. I actually had one of our new guys Friday. He was like, so do you follow a program or do you just kind of like, and I was like, no, it's what I see in everybody's weakness. You know what I mean? And that's how I'll create the next the next day or the next training cycle or the accessories. If I feel like everybody was weak in the triceps today, we're gonna attack triceps. So that's one thing that I noticed out of you was that's the comparison with us is you training the sprint and running with those building blocks, and we ain't gonna give away all your secrets
Oh
unless
no.
they paying for it,
Yeah, no, that's all good.
But can you explain that, man? Because like I said, I've seen it work, and the kids that we had trained, the kids that you had trained in track when we were at Harding was, I saw it work, and it's a new concept. It's a hard concept for people to understand, and if they don't understand the way the body works and the mechanics and those building blocks, then they're not going to understand and see it. So with that being said, man, what like give just a little bit of those building blocks if you could of how that sprint works, man. 'Cause like I said, I've seen it.
Yeah, the reason why we got along so well is because I think we've had some similar experiences. You with lifting,
Mm.
and then me with speed and body movement. So when I saw your program up close and personal, because I was doing it with the players.
Yeah, that was one thing, man. He'd come in there and he'd look at the workout. And he'd jump in a set with the players. And that was one of the things that you lead from the front. You know what I'm saying? You lead by doing it. My fault. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It's true. I got that from somebody I used to work with that I used to call my work dad, and his name is Andy McCants, senior. And no, he's junior because his dad was senior. But Andy was a former military guy, former police officer in the Army.
Okay.
And he's from New York. But Andy was an older guy in age, but you couldn't tell because of the way he moved.
Yeah.
And he still played basketball and he still got around. So Andy was the first one that told me, hey, because he was always dropping nuggets. So he said, hey, don't ever give your guys something that you wouldn't do yourself.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right. So that's the reason why I did that. But back to our similarities. When I was doing your program, I realized, oh, wait a minute. This reminds me of something. This reminds me of the way that I look at body movement, you know, and speed. And I was like, huh. So I got it, even though I had never been taught it or explained, you know, in detail.
Yeah.
Like I got it. And it's a combination of things, like you said. I wish I could make it that simple. Sometimes I wish I could, you know, give people my brain.
Yeah.
But that would take away from what it took in order for me to acquire it.
Right.
And it really is a combination of education in the body as far as exercise science. So from my professors, you know, from my teachers. And then I had a series of coaches along the way who I was able to take a piece from. And another coach is Mike Lariza, who I met in junior college. And so I'm 18 and I go to junior college and my track coach says, hey, I got this jump coach guy for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And when I met him, he became like my master trainer.
Okay.
So he became like my Louis Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still keep in touch with him to this day. And he came to my Hall of Fame induction.
Nice.
So I got to see him again. He's still jumping. He just broke the American record for his age group. He's, you know, I think he's it's the 65 to 69 age group.
Dang, man.
Yeah. But when I met him, to take you back, he was in his early 40s and he was jumping in.
Is no. So when you say jumping, are you saying long jump, high jump, jumping? What you know? What kind of jumping is he doing? Is Kingston running track? Is he planning on running track?
Yeah, he ran last year.
What do you do? What events he do?
He ran the 4x1. He ran the. Matter of fact, I saw he ran the 4x1. It pissed me off that that's like one of the last events, so we had to wait. And I'm like, hey, you got to do some other events, man. Cause I'm not here for 5 hours waiting for one event.
Waiting for the very last for those 12 seconds.
Yeah, that's it. Well, him about 13 and a half.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
It's about 13 and a half now.
Yeah.
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 But it's something I did want to say that you said about 10 minutes ago. You said that God instilled it in you. And that's one thing I wrote in Illusions of Grandeur was having that anointment, being anointed by God, knowing that you're supposed to be at a certain spot and feeling that in you. You know what I'm saying? God, and like you said, at first you think it's just you. But then when you sit there and it's being fed to you, you realize it's God, and that's when you can really live out what you know, what your expectations are with yourself. When it's just you, it's selfish.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be how you want it to be. But when you realize it's God, that's when it starts to manifest.
Yeah, and giving it up.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Letting go. I always say, let go, let God.
Yeah.
You know.
That's real.
Yeah, but yeah, you have to check out his books. Well, I'll talk to you after.
Okay.
And so he's got a few books because I know you're a reader.
Okay.
You like his books, man. He got a few of them out. But
I'm down for that. The jumping that I'm speaking of, you're right. I should clarify. Is he was triple jumping. That was number one, and then he would long jump some as well, and he was doing that at the master's level.
Yeah.
And so when I met him, that's where he was, and that's when I started like building my base as far as what was going to become like my thought process as far as, but I mean, because he was an exercise science major himself. So we really bonded. I hadn't declared my major at that point because I was in junior college.
Yeah.
But I think he helped steer me in that direction because I was asking myself, what would I what would I take as a major that I would be interested enough in that I would want to learn about it. I wouldn't
Right.
have to be forced to.
Right.
And the body was the one that the number one thing that popped up in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that when we were doing the strength and conditioning over there at Harding and the speed training and stuff, one of the things that you had preached on was making the conditioning fun and competitive, right? Because that's how you get the most out of kids, especially kids. You know what I mean? High school level and lower, and besides making it fun and making it competitive, what's kind of the pro to, instead of making these kids run 110, making them run a 110, making them run another 110, gassers. Is there an actual, I won't say scientific, but like scientific reason in the trying to make somebody faster, just the short sprints being better? Because to me, it doesn't make sense if you got your running backs running the same length as a lineman. The lineman ain't ever going to run the same length in a game as your running back, right? Why are you making them do that? So what's kind of like the scientific reason behind that? Can you explain that at all?
Mhm. I mean, I could, but most people, this is what I think people fail to realize. I can explain things, but I'm explaining it to you assuming that you have a basic prerequisite knowledge and background to start with.
Which what we found out not only in person,
Which is like
but
assuming people have common sense when there's no such thing.
exactly. It's one of the things that Louis would always say to me. When I very first brought in, he was like, "What's your high school workout like?" And I brought it into him. He's looking through it. This is stupid. This is bullshit. This is stupid. And like, this is what they have me
Yeah.
doing. And he goes, "This is why they're football coaches, not weightlifting coaches." And that stuck with me. You know what I mean? Like 99%, I'm gonna say 99% of football coaches know the game of football, but they don't know the strength and conditioning or the conditioning and sprinting. So, what we had going was we had those specific coaches, and they were getting every aspect of that. So I agree with you, man. It's you can explain it all day. We could explain the conjugate method to anybody walking in here all day long, but that would mean that they would have to know what dynamic effort, max effort is, and then that's the different depth.
And even when you explained it to me, I didn't understand. I didn't have the basic. What you say again? I didn't have that.
I call it prerequisite.
Yeah.
Like that's what we had to have to even get into certain upper level classes. You had to take the prerequisites, which are the 101 level, 100.
I didn't have powerlifting 101. So that's why I thought you were just making, like, man, you just making these exercises up until I watched Westside versus the world. And when I watched that, I was like, okay, now I see this a whole method to what he's talking about. He's not just coming in here telling us to do this, telling us to do that. Like, and when you said Buddy on Friday asked, like, are you just making stuff up? He has to watch it.
Yeah.
Until he watches that, he's just gonna think we're in here just lifting weight.
Yeah. Thing is, he's seen it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, don't question me, okay?
I mean, he might have turned it on, but he ain't fully understanding what he was watching. You know
Yeah. Fair enough.
I gotta give. Hold on. I have to give respect and credit where credit's due. There's a guy who has a system. I want to mention his name, but I don't want to get it wrong.
I know there was a guy. I have to look at some more video while you're looking that up. There's a guy that Louis worked with that actually figured out the mechanics to run on ice. And I just remember watching this dude run on an ice rink, and that blew my mind. Like the way that I ain't even gonna act like I'm gonna try to explain it. Just the way that they figured out mechanically, biomechanically, how to run on ice, and the cycling. Hey, pick that word up for me.
Oh yeah,
cycling. So
there you go.
not bicycle, right? Chill out, bro.
Oh.
my man puts in his miles every day on a bike.
That's different.
But the like cycling the foot, This is where you take over because I ain't gonna be able to explain that.
No, you can. I mean, what you want?
So just the cycling of like that's one of the big
Yes.
things that stuck with me when I was watching you do your training with the kids. Like, oh my God, this makes total sense. To me, this is a bending the bar in a bench press. You know, it's the cycling of the foot. You see a lot of players shuffle, right? A lot of,
Explain shuffle because
So,
we can't
where
use
the-
words that right now. What I've learned is you really have to teach.
yeah, yeah,
You really have to teach as you go. So we could talk, but we're going to talk above a lot of people's head if we
Yeah.
don't.
So basically, shuffling, from what my understanding is, where they're not picking their knee up enough to where when they're just running, they're just picking their foot up and it's going forward instead of up and digging. You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is a shuffle.
Yeah.
You're really what you're doing is you're exchanging the hips. The hips are exchanging.
Yeah.
So you're doing the Dion's,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's no that.
Right. With the knee.
Yes. So that's the cycle motion where you involve the knee and the hip.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We definitely gonna have to get Kingston in because even I feel even with athletes, period, man, athletes, period, they have the obviously every kid knows how to run. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's those tweaks, just like every kid knows how to bench press, but it's the tweaks of the mechanisms and the technique make anybody faster, man. I know you.
Just to give you,
Yeah.
you your flowers. I don't know if you guys do that on this show.
Yeah.
Right? I got to give you your flowers because from me going through the program with the players, I now have refined a lot of my lifting technique. And
Okay.
so I was working out the other day, and as I'm, at my complex and I'm
Mhm.
in the little fitness center and I'm on the bench and I'm getting my shoulder blades back and I can feel the difference between getting that in a position
Mhm.
and then taking the bar off and then coming down and then shooting and I'm everything like
Yep.
I pay attention. So the bending of the bar, I remember that.
Yep.
But then I could just feel it and I was like, oh, I can feel the difference in my back. It has me supported.
Yeah.
It has me supported. So I was like, oh, okay. I can control a lot more weight.
Yeah. Way more stable.
Yeah, way more stable. And I was like, before I was just getting on the bench.
Right. Yeah.
And then taking the bar off and then struggling, to hold it. It's where it's now like I can feel, bang, I get that right there.
Yeah.
And I make sure I get it comfortable and then boom, then I take it off. So that's kudos, that's credit to you. I was like,
appreciate
man,
that.
yeah, because none of us are getting younger.
Yeah.
So we have to improve.
Especially you.
Oh, yes.
I always give time for being the old head. I always give him some junk for being the old head. But no, man, I appreciate that big time because it means a lot for people to just kind of recognize just those small things. And I'm like you, whereas I'm just happy it's making somebody better. You know what I mean? I'm just happy it's making somebody better and giving somebody results.
It's true because I've been through the process. You've been through the process.
Yeah.
You know what it did for you.
Yeah.
And that's a huge reason of why you now are turning it around. And now you're being able to pour into someone else.
Yeah.
And then they get that experience, something similar that you were able to experience. So,
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say back
So
in
you were
the
saying,
day.
okay, go.
No, you're good. So back in the day, because I know when you played at Harding, who was the coaches?
Brady.
Okay, Brady.
Yeah, our lifting coach. This was sophomore year was Chris Hart. But he was a good lifting coach though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you guys ever have like a sprinting coach or anything like that, or anybody that kind of helped with that? No.
It's not what you said before made sense, and this is how I really came to be. Is coaches coach, and they coach the X's and O's in football, of the game. They manage as far as the schedule,
Right.
practice plan,
Yeah.
right? But when I was coaching with a friend of mine, T Ford, who now coaches at University of Idaho, he's the running backs coach at University of Idaho, and they're having a good year. So go Vandals!
There you go. Okay.
So I was the receiver coach, and he asked us, give me two things. This was after our first season, and we're rebuilding because this was a program that hadn't had a lot of success. So he said, in the coaches meeting, he said, I want you guys to write down two things that you can bring to the program that will help.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay. Dang, I never even looked at it like that. Two things. I got to find some. What can I bring?
Yeah.
Right. And when I looked at what we needed, and I thought about, I was watching each team like prepare before the game. Like I watched their pregame just to see like what kind of guys they have, what kind of athletes they have, like what are we in store for,
Right.
you know? And that's when it like dawned on me. Okay, well, one thing that I know I can bring because, you know, people tell me is speed. And then another thing is performance nutrition. Because I had been working in that area and I realized that they go hand in hand.
Yep.
So unless you're Ocho Cinco.
Yeah, the McDonald's.
Yeah.
McDonald's kid.
The McDonald's Skittles diet and the candy diet.
I'm glad you said nutrition, man. We're gonna touch on that later, and then definitely off camera. We'll definitely have y'all chop it up because that's one thing. He's 46 weeks, 47 weeks out from his first bodybuilding show. Okay.
You are?
Yeah, we're gonna get him up on stage. He keeps saying it, so I'm gonna stick him to it. We're gonna stick to it.
I'm trying to get up on that stage.
Okay. Well, one thing, kudos to you. The first thing I say is you either doing or you not doing. So there is no try.
Yeah.
So you doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You about to be on some heavy tuna diet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Just bought 30 packs this morning. I'm about to go hard.
Man, that's one thing with Dav. He's always on the go. I mean, the man owns several businesses here in Marion, and he's very hands on with everything. You know, he don't sit back and let everything run. He's very hands on with everything. So that's one thing that's rough for him is, you know, being able to get them meals in, being able to get the proper protein in, and, you know, nutrition. And now that I'm thinking about it, putting two and two together, it sounds like you need to be a USANA customer, you know. So
associate.
So yeah.
But it makes sense though.
Honestly.
It makes sense though. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. So when I brought those two things, I wrote those two things down. I said speed and nutrition.
Yeah.
And T Ford was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna let you do that. Like those two sound good. Like, all right, that's gonna be your niche.
Yeah.
So that's what I rolled with. And what I learned is even the better teams that we played, they didn't have someone really who knew what they were doing, taking them through pregame.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, if I'm a track athlete, and this is what I learned from my track experience, is it takes a certain routine in order for you to turn all your lights on, which is that's one of my phrases that I use.
Yeah.
I don't say warm up because kids think of warm up as being slow and not dynamic. So you have to be careful with your word choice. So I say turning the lights on because you really are checking to make sure that the mind-body connection is linked. So you're in control of your body.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I was seeing that even the better teams didn't have this, I realized, oh, we have an advantage.
Right.
Okay, because I know what I already know what it takes in order to get me into, you know, my 100%, my maximum. So I could do that for the team.
Yeah.
So then that's what started that. And what I really started to see was some of the top athletes, some of the 3-star, 4-star, 5-star rated athletes, football players specifically. But then I worked with a basketball team, and then it opened me up to other sports. Was they didn't know how to get themselves ready either.
Yeah, yeah. Hey man, I'm gonna be honest. We don't do near enough activation to the warm activation
Activation.
as we should. And
Activation.
here, especially listen, this man's so strong. He come in last Wednesday during our max effort. We were going for what? Triples to a one board, and he showed up a little late. And he gets here, 225 was on the bar, 235 was on the bar, and he goes, "Go ahead and keep that on there." He busted out like 10 of them real quick. I was like, all right.
But it's what you said though. We don't activate when we get in here,
Yeah, we really don't.
and because I think about it, the most we do is grab a band real quick for like 5 seconds. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the injury, because everybody in here is complaining about a shoulder right now. Like,
And I don't know what they're talking about. I'm cool. I'm good.
everybody in here is complaining about it, and that's probably why, because nobody is
Honestly, yeah.
turning them lights on. It's turning about 2 of them on. The basement's still playing.
Basement and the attic.
We just jumping in.
So
Yeah,
then that's
it's
when
something changed for sure.
that was another thing that I observed. Like I took those years of as we were building the program, and it was just another. It was like I was in school all over again,
Mhm.
but it was like practicum, hours because I was actually out in the field now doing it. I wasn't just reading books, and I start seeing that. I was like, wait a minute, kids are getting injured at an alarming rate, way more than what we experience. Right? At younger ages.
Yep.
When the body, if you know the body's being development, like we're more limber when we're younger, and as we mature, we get more bone density in our we develop
Stiffer.
more muscle, we get stiffer.
Yeah.
So we're really flimsy like Gumby as kids, and you don't really. That's why we didn't really experience that many injuries. But another reason why is because look at the way we play.
Yeah.
We played hard,
Yeah.
and we competed hard, and we fought hard, and we fell hard,
Yeah.
and we got back up, and we rolled hard, and we jumped hard, and we landed hard. Well, all of that started to make sense to me because that was our training.
Yeah.
And so if I'm a gamer and I'm laid up, I got my phone right here, and I got my game system on, I got my headset on, and I'm in my game chair,
Comfortable.
I started observing, like, look at their body position and how much time do they spend in those body positions. So compare the childhood of Rock'em Sock'em robots, and then compare today's childhood, and I was like, they're not prepared to then go out and compete.
Yeah.
But then when the game comes, and it's AAU or 7-on-7 or whatever, well, mom and dad have invested in me, right? And now grandma and all them are showing up. Now I want to turn up, okay? But I haven't put in on that turn up. I ain't invested on that turn up, and so the body's like, ho ho ho, because the body's made to protect.
I never thought of it like that. Like, because when we was out as kids,
all the way down,
man. I mean, like, whoever stole my bike when I was up at the church, I had to walk home. You know what I mean?
That part.
But you know what I mean? Like, I never even thought of it like that.
I want to ask you this, right? I want to ask you this.
Go ahead.
Okay, now
This is fun.
as a parent, right?
Mhm.
My son's 14. He's a freshman, and I've invested a lot of time and money into him. Like as far as training, like he's been to every trainer in town. We went to D1 in Columbus. We've been to D-BAT in Columbus for baseball. And I know he wants to do better. And it's not like I'm pushing him. Like I'm not one of them parents. I'm not one of them parents that, oh, my son needs to be like, if this is what he wants to do, this is what we doing.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna do it, I want to make sure you can be in a position where, you know what I'm saying, you're top notch.
Getting taught by the best.
You're taught by the best. So it's like, but I feel so. I just had him with a trainer, right? My homie Sean Dyer. You might know Sean Dyer.
I've heard of him.
Yep.
So
Shout out Sean.
Isn't he from?
he's from here.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's from here.
Yep.
I think he just
Like
got
a Marion Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
just got,
Sister of the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he just
Yep.
got inducted. But he does basketball training. So
Yes.
I paid 3-month program. He did a month. Last Sunday he ain't want to go. So last Sunday he was sick. 2 Sundays ago he was sick, right? So I'm like, okay, he might be sick because he was complaining about it the day before.
Yeah.
He might be sick.
He would calculate that one, bro.
Yeah, I already know. He put in his prerequisites, you know, early. You know? So then the next weekend was last weekend. He ain't want to go again. He's like, no, I don't wanna go. And it's like, okay, I didn't. But it just gets to the point where, so I had to cancel it. But it's just like, I don't know what the problem, because now he's like, man, I don't even like basketball, but he loves basketball.
Right.
He always playing. I don't even want to play basketball this year. But then he just, like today, he went to the Y. Basketball, it was his last game Friday, so he about to football, so he about to start basketball. He sent me his little shoes he wanted. So it's like, how I feel, I don't even know what goes on in his head, but sometimes I feel like he defeats himself, and then I don't even know, if it just feels like he defeats himself sometimes.
Nephew, it sounds like you're about to get your PlayStation or Xbox taken. Is what it sounds like.
Listen, man,
Nephew, protect that.
Even coming in here. So, you know, we had set up a whole program for him.
Yep.
He's supposed to come in here 4 days a week, 3 days a week. And then a Monday come, man, I don't even feel like lifting. I'm like, all right. Then last week, when we going lifting, you ain't even took me lifting. You don't even take me lifting no more.
Yeah.
You told me 2 weeks ago you don't want to go lifting no more.
Yeah. I've said this a couple times. I think when it comes to kids, it's once they see the result, the addiction comes, or the obsession comes with getting even better than what they were. You know, because I know you did say he got a little 1-inch bar weight set in his room. And, you know, you said he called him a couple times in there, you know, moving it. So I just, you know, my answer to that, even though you ain't asked me, but
it was an open question.
Okay.
For coaches.
Is once they see that, it's just making it a habit. 2 weeks, like they say by rule, making it a habit. Once they see the result, you know, hey, he's shooting and making more free throws than he was, you know, or benching more than he was, whatever it is. That's when the obsession comes. Like, man, I did this much with 50% of effort, and imagine if I go, you know, imagine if I turn up to 100, what I'm gonna get. So that's you know, I don't know. That's probably my best.
I would say it goes in line with what you were talking about earlier, as how did I come up with the difference in the way that I train compared to the way we were coached.
Yeah.
I took the information that I was gathering from being a coach and building a program, and it was like it just all synergized at this one moment where it just came to me that how can I find a way to transfer the information and the experience that I have into today's generation? Well, we got to speak their language. So that's a part of it. And then I had to learn them as far as how do they learn? What are they attracted to? What are they interested in? Today we're living in a different time because there's so much competition for their attention, like never before.
Like with social media, you mean?
Social media is part of it. Gaming is part of it. We've already talked about it. Social media, gaming. Then there's sports. You know. So they have so much going on that's out there that now they're exposed to. It's always been out there, but we weren't exposed to it. So we only knew what was in our neighborhood.
Right.
So what I learned was, and this kind of answers yours and a little bit of his, is I realized that the way that we were doing things, and because the way we were coached wasn't the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not like some of it didn't work or some of it didn't cross over, but just like you said, why does a lineman need to do 220s?
Right.
Right? When we know that the duration of the play, he's probably going to be in like a 5 to 10 yard radius.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So why should he be doing 220s when I'm out there, you know, at playing wide receiver and I'm running 20, 30 yard routes?
Right.
Right? Like we have different jobs.
Right.
So it didn't make sense to me. So then I think that started me to look for different ways to go about doing it. And what made logical sense to me was shorter and more intensity.
Mm.
Right? Because the 220, the model, the down and back, all of that we came up on was too long and too slow.
Yeah.
So I knew that, well, that's not making me faster.
Right.
Right? Because I'm running slower.
Right.
So I'm never recruiting the type of fast twitch muscle fibers that I need.
Mm.
And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. And then when I started thinking about the injuries, then I was like, you know what? I started opening my ears to the complaints. And parents were talking to me about injuries, and they were talking about my son doesn't want to do it anymore, or son or daughter doesn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they're losing interest, they're quitting, you know, at earlier ages. And I was just like, okay, there's got to be something to this. What is going on? So it's a combination. I think it was coaching styles that were outdated and that were being rehashed over and over and over again, regurgitated. Yeah. And the kids of today, it wasn't connecting with them.
Right.
So I was looking at the best way to connect with them is to vibe with them. You know, you have to speak their language. They're never going to speak our language.
Right.
Right? Because they didn't go through what we went through.
Mm. So
and if we sit around and wait for them to speak our language, we're going to be like, we're going to miss windows.
Right.
So we got windows of opportunity that we're dealing with here. So I started to dive into, instead of being like, oh, you know, I'm old, I don't have to worry about that. I started to dive into, okay, what are they interested in? Like, what are they involved in? What is going on in their world? What do they talk about? What music do they listen to? Like, all of these things have a huge impact on them.
Yeah.
And when you show the effort to acquire that knowledge, they respect it. They don't think that you're trying to be like them, you know, because they can tell the difference. Right? I'm not trying to be like them. Like, I've already been there. I don't have to.
Right.
But game recognized game, it takes effort for me to know what's going on in your world because it's not a part of my world.
Yeah.
Right? So then that gets their attention. When you're learning, the best teachers that you've always had, there was always something about them. They either challenged you, you know, they either held you accountable, or they were funny, or they were a combination of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's something to that. We learn, you know, it's easier for us to learn when there's comedy.
Yeah.
Right? When
fun.
Yeah. When there's funny, or when it's fun.
Yeah.
Right? So I started looking and thinking about, well, how can you do it? The things that I do, I found out after the fact. There's a coach by the name of Tony Holler, and he has a system called Feed the Cats.
Okay.
And
I don't think I've heard you talk about this.
You heard me talk about it. He's a Hall of Fame coach whose dad was a coach in the state of Illinois.
Okay.
And he's now getting like more and more known because of using, you know, social media and different outlets. But when I started to look at his program when we were at Harding, I was like, oh, like this is like me. This reminds me of me.
Yeah.
But he had a system, you know, where he talks about, okay, this is what we do, this is what we do, and he goes and he speaks about it. Well, he says that you need to compete, right? And you got to make it fun because he talked about coming from the world of football and coming up with these different ideas and then bringing it to his football staff and then being kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
Because it's going against the way that we were coached.
Yeah.
So I realized I grew up in a different time. We did things because people told us to do it. Okay? The kids of today don't.
Right.
They don't. They challenge things. They ask why. You know.
We got told why, or when we asked why growing up, it because I said.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like I went to practice just because we went to practice. That's it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't no. I don't feel like going to practice. This and that, and that's how he is. You know, like you said, the kids of the day challenge. They everything. Every way they gonna challenge you.
So my thought behind with Kingston, it might be, you know, figuring out a way to make those trainings a challenge with him, in the sense of like, if it's got to be you, me, Kingston, and one of his friends come in here, that's similar to him. Now he's got a buddy here, and now he's got, you know, somebody that he can compete against. Oh yeah, you did 5, but I'm gonna do 6. You know what I mean? And maybe when it comes to basketball stuff, maybe that, you know, I don't know, you can work something out. Have, you know, it'd be 2 guys instead of 1-on-1. You know, 2 people in there. And
I told you, like when I was a kid, like I said, my dad was into fitness, and he just threw me a muscle and fitness. Like, here, take some cell tech and some nitro tech.
Yeah.
And that's just what I did.
The cell tech and the micro tech.
Yeah, that's just what I did.
Oh, the
that's
GNC.
That's just what he did. GNC. That's just what he told me. That's
in
what I
the
did.
in the black with the red.
Yeah. So like today when we left, I'm like, you need some supplements? Like, we went to Walmart. I'm like, you need some supplements? Like, no. I said, you don't want no protein? You don't want no creatine or nothing? No.
Yeah.
And we just left. Like, I mean, I got what I had to get, but that was it.
I will give you this. The system with Feed the Cats is record, rank, publish.
Okay.
Okay? Record, rank, and publish. Reason being, we have to look at it from their point of view. So they're always wanting to compare things.
Yeah.
Right? If they're on the game, they can see, you know, all their stats. They can see all the numbers, all the analytics, right? All the data.
Yep.
And then they can measure that themselves against other kids around the world who play the game.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where record, rank, and publish come from. And when you think about it, we just tested it out a little bit at Marion, but that was kind of like an experiment. I just wanted, it wasn't an experiment for me.
Right. You knew it worked.
Yeah. But, and it's not like, it's not like, that's not a cocky thing. That's an experience thing. I've already done it time and time again. I've done it with different sports.
Yeah.
Football is a sport that has a lot of ego.
Yeah.
And you don't have those egos in track. So I always experienced the difference in the 2 communities, in the 2 villages, just growing up. So in track, I'll have coaches help. You know, I had coaches from other schools, like my coach helped an athlete from another school when we got to nationals because they didn't have a coach in that discipline. So it's what's best for the kid.
Yeah.
But the egos get in the way a lot of times in football and other sports. And so it will stunt the kid's growth and development. But like that time when I was like, hey, watch this. I had to fight and present a good argument with Coach Ross in the first place.
Mhm.
And the reason why he trusts me is because A, we have a friendship that dates back, decades ago.
Right.
So he's known me since I was in high school.
Right.
Since I was like close to your son's age, and now he's knows me now. So he's seen the journey. He's seen the process.
Yeah.
And even though I might have been quick or one of the faster guys back then, he watched me become like the fast guy.
Yeah.
And so he knew that I had to put some work in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a natural thing that I was born with that I didn't work to develop and I didn't know how to do it.
Mhm.
Like I actually changed the way that I sprinted.
Mhm.
And that's how it really started is I was getting beat. Like we're racing all the time. And I started getting beat. Like, we didn't have like the record, rank, and publish, but I kind of knew where I ranked.
Yeah. 'Cause
Right.
you cared that much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody knew like in the grade, like because we race all the time, and I would be like, well, he beats me all the time. You beat me sometimes, and he don't never beat me.
Yeah.
So I kind of was, and that was it. We were always trying to check ourselves, and that's a dude thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we're always trying to measure. Okay, where do I stand next to you? And it's not anything personal. It's just I want to know where I stand.
Right.
So all of a sudden we got to junior high, guys started to grow, and I didn't grow yet.
Mm.
And so dudes were getting taller and longer and stronger because their testosterone was kicking in.
Mhm.
And dudes that didn't never beat me started beating me.
Yeah.
So I knew something was off, and I knew I had to do something about it because I didn't like it. And that's when I started to absorb information as far as like, what can I do? Like and I started watching world-class people
Mm.
and I started recording them.
Mhm.
And then I would like rewind and go through and watch them and do it in slow-mo, but this is on VHS.
So you was in there hitting the button.
Yeah. Oh, I had the remote control. Sometimes hitting the button, I had to hit record and play and pause, and then I had to unpause it so it would go. And yeah, I'm using my cousin's
Man.
tapes and stuff. He getting mad because he had Yo MTV raps and all kind of stuff on his tape. Shout out to my cousin Sean. He knows what I'm talking about. He was like, man, wait. He'd be watching Yo MTV raps, and all of a sudden they cut into the World Championships, the 4x1 relay. He'd be like, man, I was like, I ain't had no other tape. You know what I mean? The World Championships come on. I ain't had no other tape.
Man, quick, way out the side note. I just saw Pete Davidson talking about this is how old we are. This really felt like it dated me. But Pete Davidson was talking about how back in the day, or I'm sorry, like 3 years ago, he started buying up like unopened VHS tapes of movies. And now, like, he's got like a ton of them. And now those VHS tapes are going, like he said, Rocky just the original Rocky on VHS was auctioned off for $25,000.
Damn.
Yeah. They're not that old, but I guess the very last VHS came out in 2006.
Damn.
Yeah. 2006. So
yeah, that's how quick technology is advancing.
And it's funny, correlate this back. It's funny that we can see everybody across the board can see that technology is advancing, but yet a lot of coaches still stick to the old ways. You know what I mean?
That part.
Still stick to the old stuff.
That part.
And how are you gonna explain that everything else in your life is advancing and changing and getting more efficient, but the guessers that I did in high school got us right, and that's what we're gonna do. You know what I mean?
That's true. And I listen to, there's a lot of guys who are considered the speed gurus of the world now.
Yeah, they're phonies. Anyways, go ahead.
Oh my god.
They're
And so
phonies. we got the first and the only
No,
right
no,
here.
no,
All
no.
right, leave it be.
no. So what I learned from them, because they coach some of the fastest men in the world, like Donovan Bailey's his sprint coach, Ben Johnson's sprint coach, Carl Lewis.
Shut up, Ben Johnson, favorite one.
Right. Oh, okay. And so I'm not mad at Ben. Like I get it, but what one of them said was that he's written books and he's done different training. He's come up with all these systems, and he said, like 30 years in, he realized that he was wrong. And he said he had to go back against all those things that he had said and believed and all of that. And it takes me to Bruce Lee, you know, and as soon as you get fixed, then you crystallize.
Yeah.
And so you have to stay fluid like water. You know, water changes its form.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever you need it to do. So that stuck in my head, and I realized that even though certain coaches got us through and got us, you know, to where we are now, it doesn't mean that it was all right. It doesn't mean that it was all wrong. But like you said, technology is changing and advancing at rapid levels. And so how could training not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How could it not? So when I realized that took me all the way back, and it removed, I think, the stigma of me going against the old regime.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was like
embracing the new.
Embracing the new because something's different, because we didn't get injured like that.
Right.
We did not get injured that way. We didn't quit sports before we were through high school.
Yeah.
Not at that rate. Not at the rate it's going now. And we didn't have trainers.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have the training opportunities. We just didn't. And so I'm like, that doesn't compute in my brain. But what I've learned, and what Tony Holler has talked about, which allowed me to take a deep breath, and that's how I was able to take it to Coach Ross.
Yeah.
Is because I was like, wait, I always call it the double dutch.
Yeah.
Because you're always waiting.
Jump in.
Yeah, for that right. When is it going? I ain't quite right. Like,
yeah.
I just gotta feel it. When is it gonna be that right time to jump in the wind? There isn't a right time.
Yeah.
No, you just gotta pick and go.
Yeah.
And I just, once he said that, I was like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I am not alone here. Okay. And I took it to Coach Ross and I said, hey, look, I understand you feel a certain way. I understand we used to do that. I did them with you. Right? But these kids aren't us.
Right.
They're living in a different time. They're built differently than us. They're bigger than us. Right?
I don't know, man. That's one thing. I mean,
they're bigger and smaller.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I went to a county school, so we was all form fed or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I felt like, I mean, besides like Big Mike, besides Mikey, who played for us, I felt like a lot of these kids, I don't know, is it just me? Landon Adams, which he got hurt this year. I don't know if you heard.
Oh, I did. They all got hurt. I already know it.
Yeah.
Without you telling me, I can just tell you what's gonna happen.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? The ones that stayed healthy, extremely healthy, if you will, is the ones that kind of stayed on every word that you gave them. With like Keontae Scott, he's still out there doing his thing.
Yeah.
Harding's got a lot of. We talk about this all the time. About Harding has a ton of athletes that come to that place.
Oh yeah, they do.
So much talent, man.
Oh yes, they
so
do.
much talent, and that's one of the things, man. Is a whole thing. Like, not only did you bring the speed, but he also brought the nutrition, in the sense that we touched on that for a second. But it was like, you guys have after every game. Yeah.
You did?
So, yeah. See, that's why we had so much pushback. Is
I
it's
figured
like,
it was a
you
thing.
know,
then.
God, 50. So,
What?
no, I'm playing. not really ain't that much older than me. But, you know, all the way back when he was playing, they was doing the pizza after the game. So that's
Oh,
why.
I didn't know.
So when he came in, he was like, "Listen." When Ross came in, it was if these players want to play at the collegiate level, we have to start doing the collegiate things now. Why are we going to send them to somewhere that they don't know anything about, blind, and not already have these disciplines instilled in them? We're going to send a player somewhere. We're going to send them with our name and their name on their back, and we're already going to have these disciplines instilled in them, meaning eating the right food after a game, fueling their bodies during the game, doing the stretches the right way before and after training, right? All of those things. And that was one of the things that we had changed. I ain't even gonna take the credit because this was,
I ain't think.
this is one thing that Ross took.
There you go. There you go.
Brother D, change was we're gonna feed these players right, nutritionally right after the game. That meant no more pizza, which we got a lot of pushback from old heads, man. A lot of pushback about it. And
it became a joke. I think it was
Yeah.
like the team joke because I got here in August and we were in 2-a-days, and then there was different meetings with the district,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had the parent meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and the parents were sitting in the classroom, and we were up at front. So Coach Ross introduced us and our titles and what we would be, in charge, responsible for, whatever. And he had to say, it's like it almost becomes like I don't know, like it becomes like a shock word. I notice it whenever people say nutrition, and there's always like I can feel it. I can feel just the impact in the room. So I'm just like, just can we come up with something else? Like that's why I say performance, because it doesn't just people get caught up in nutrition and their own issues and challenges and battles with nutrition, but we're talking about performance.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So if you want performance, I don't care in what aspect of life, like for you, for your kids, energy for your kids, for your job, for your career, for your business, this is it's all performance.
Yeah, because if you no matter, like you would say, no matter what the end goal is, or the job, whether it's work, do the one thing that I know. I think I told you after I got done. So I did keto, meat, eggs, cheese, and water for the meat. I had to lose 13 pounds. Yeah, and or no, I lost 13 pounds. I only needed to lose like 8. And so as soon as I got done with my meat, I was like, man, next week I'm about to hit Skeet's truck. I'm about to get a big old steak in that burger with some fries. I'm about to get some panda. I'm about to get some Chipotle. I'm about to eat, And that first meal, like that next Monday, we had off work. So I went and got Chipotle. Man, I took like a 3-4 hour nap right after. Very next day, went and got some panda. I'm sitting there at work. I'm like, I don't think I want to work the rest of the day. I'm tired. I was like, man, I got to go back to nutrition. For me personally, nutritionally is right for me. It's just more meat, less carbs. So yeah, you're 100% right. It's performance across the board.
It's performance.
Work, athletes, whatever it is.
But Marion has traditions, routines. I don't know what you want to call it, but we sat in there and Coach Ross introduces that I'm going to be doing nutrition. I was like, here I go, because I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
Right? No one knows me. I'm not from Marion. I'm not from Ohio.
Yeah.
So there have been a little question about who is this dude? Who is this new guy that he's brought in? and I get up and I just give a little basic outline of what performance nutrition is and the purpose and reason, because we're talking about it's better for them in classroom for their learning. We're talking about preventing injuries. We're talking about recovery time, right? So all of these, like better sleep, better mood, all of that's associated with your performance nutrition. So that's the reason why we're doing it. We need that edge. Okay, if we're going to give these guys, the kids, the athletes, the players, the best that we can provide, then we need to teach them that. We need to give them the opportunity for them to see it, for them to feel it, for them to play, practice, sleep on it. So then they know it's not about D1. I didn't play D1. D did it. Coach Ross did. But what it's about is it's about holistically. Like we're all going to become pillars in the community. We're all going to become citizens. We're all going to become fathers someday. You know, majority of them are. We're gonna be uncles. We're gonna be a grandfather. Like we're all going to contribute in some way to society. So why not teach them and give them that knowledge and that experience to know what it's like? They've already seen the other side. Right? They've already, like, it's all around us. Here comes Halloween. Right? It's all around us. Then it's gonna be Thanksgiving.
I can't knock Thanksgiving.
And I'm not mad at Thanksgiving, you know. It's not Thanksgiving itself, it's our choices.
It's
like
the
Halloween can be fun if we made proper choice. Everything can be fun if we made proper choices. We don't have to do it and go all in the way we do, but it's hard because guess what? It's a drug.
Listen, bro, if I come trick or treat in your neighborhood and you give me a damn carrot, we gonna fight.
No, listen, I got. Let me see what I got. Because here's
it's candied. It's a candied.
No, it's all
candied
good.
carrot.
But the team joke became someone in the parents' crowd asked if we could have pizza.
Knowing damn well we ain't gonna have no pizza.
But that was like the number one question I think on everyone's mind. I could tell.
Damn.
You know, after I said my little piece, I'm like, is there any question? You know, so can we give the guys pizza? And I said, no.
Yeah.
And I think I was out.
Exactly.
Right? I think they started the clock right then and there. They was like, well, okay, how are we gonna get him out?
No pizza. No
Yeah.
pizza. What?
And so, because there was like a little hush of it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, what do you mean? I was, well, that's I said after a season, if that's what you want to do, that's your choice. That's up to you. And that's their choice. I said, but in season, that's going against everything that we're doing. So why are we investing all of this time and energy and resources to set this program up, to get this machine running, you know, well oiled like it is, and then we're gonna go and flatten the tire.
Which it's not like we was feeding them, you know, chickpeas and you know, just a cup of chocolate milk after, you know what I mean? Like they were having like turkey roll, you know, like turkey wraps with some vegetables, some fruit, some chocolate milk, you know what I mean? Like Tay basically gave them like, here's the things that I'm gonna recommend that are gonna be great for their nutrition post game. This is what's gonna be good for breakfast. You know, this is what you guys need to get. You know, and the parents, you know, I applaud the parents that was doing it because they did it.
Oh, I'm telling you.
The yogurts, the
telling you.
fruits, you know, the biggest thing, bro. And this is something for next year for Kingston. Even if you can't get the team to do it, at least Kingston gonna be right. You know what I'm saying? Is fruit at halftime, bro. Like fruit, the melons at halftime.
Oh yeah, we had
fruit
the
blizzards.
cuties. Yeah,
They had the cuties. You know, because I kid you not, man, I saw that turn the second half up every time we did it. Every time we did it, especially, and the biggest one that comes to my head is the RV game. RV
Was
game.
that the RV game where it rained?
It rained
Yes.
and they delayed the RV game, and I want to say we were down at halftime by like maybe a touchdown.
I can't remember. It was close.
But we did, like I said, all the boys had, watermelons, bananas,
Yep.
cuties,
Yep.
cantaloupe,
Yep.
all that stuff. And this was fast absorbing sugars, fast digesting sugars. And they ate that. We had a little bit of a delay because it was monsooning out there.
Oh, because that was homecoming.
Yep, it was a monsoon.
So they had to delay the
halftime was
Yes,
extended a little
yes.
bit to let it calm down. We came out there. Shout out my little brother Jordan because they did 3 what we call it 3 middle dribbles back to back to back. Got all 3 of them, and we scored on each one of them, man. And that
Well, I
changed
remember-
completely changed the momentum of the game. But I felt like River Valley came out flat because they was sitting in there, and then we was in there getting fueled back up. So if anything for next year, man, Kingston be on that fruit in the locker room because second half you're gonna be ready.
I remember you helped me like distribute all the food
Mm-hmm.
because I knew the rain was coming
Mm-hmm.
and it was gonna get. But then I heard it because I ran inside. As soon as we had our coaches meeting, I ran inside to start helping out. To start getting it because I didn't want to put it on all the moms and stuff. They're there to see their boys play.
Yeah.
But they did a great job. Shout out to the 1st and 10 moms.
Yeah.
Shout out to Foznaw's mom and to Big Cam, Amy Rayner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they, like, the job that they did was amazing. Like, I never envisioned something like that, and they took it and they ran with it, and they did a bang bang job. So they had all of this food ready for us, and I run in and I'm like, okay, we're gonna get delayed, and I said, oh, this is gonna be perfect because normally I'm trying to go around and give the food to them. We're trying to go around and give the food to them, and they're trying to listen to what coach is saying to make the halftime adjustments, which I get. So, but I'm thinking like none of the halftime adjustments are gonna stick if your brain's not functioning properly.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, and these are high school teenage boys who sometimes don't eat breakfast. You don't know what they have for lunch, and then haven't had anything since. And here it is halftime, so we're talking about 8:15, 8:30. And I remember that too because of the delay. It was like about 9 to 9:15. They said we were going to start again. So it's a long day, and the one vision that I remember is Trinity's run.
Oh yeah. After the second middle drive, I want to say the first one, chucked it up 70 yards. West Stokes got that boy and ran it in, and then my little brother middle dribbled again. We got it again, and then Trin got behind Big Mike.
Just
and
took
off,
off,
man. Took off.
He took off.
I want to say it was like a 60-yard run,
Yes,
68 yard run, man.
off. He took off, and I was like, "Ooh!" If you're just watching it, you could just see, because you could see the energy. They were pumped, and I knew, well, they have something in them, so it's going to it's going to fuel them to the end of the game, and they could feel it.
Man.
And when they could feel it, then they had the confidence, so they were going hard.
That's what I was just gonna say. Is I felt like after that game, the as soon as the boys was in the locker room at halftime, fruit, where's the fruit? Where's the fruit? You ain't even played before snaps. I'll give you that bag. They started fighting over it.
It takes something like that to happen. They're kids, and before they become believers, because they didn't know me very well, and a lot of things I was saying were new and different.
Definitely.
And so they needed to feel it. And that River Valley game really it was a turning point. And after that, I wasn't having to really sell it so much. We've had it for some weeks now. We've been doing team dinners on Thursday nights. We had food for them the day of the game, and then we had fruit for them at halftime. And then they would have stuff for them, not stuff, but they had food for them after the game.
Mhm.
And then coming in on Saturday mornings, they would have food for them because we would do
Breakfast, man.
yeah, we would do Saturday morning film.
Yeah.
You know, so all of that was important because you're looking at it from Thursday night
Mhm.
to Friday afternoon to halftime of the game to after the game to Saturday morning.
Yeah.
You know, so you're kickstarting their recovery over the weekend because if not, these are teenagers that you're going to send into the weekend. So you don't know what they're going to do.
And then, well, we do know what
Oh,
they're
my
going to
bad.
do. We
Yeah.
do know what they're going to do because we talked about it earlier.
Jump
Sit
on
down
that
in that
gang.
chair. Yeah, they go hop in that kid and get soft again. You know, but nah, man. The time that I was a part of what you and Dee, Coach Ross had going on, man, and what we had going on is one of the best times that I had coaching. I was just telling my little brother the other day, my senior year of football, we had a good year, man. We went 8-3. First year in 18 years, we beat Pleasant. We did it on their home field, all Ohio defensive linemen. I had a great year with the guys that I, from the sixth grade up, played ball with. But Jordan's junior year, coaching with y'all and the wins that we had, I would honestly relive that year instead of my senior year of football, man. I really would, because just one, being on the field with my little brother, that's one thing I never had, being on the field with him. And then being on the field with two guys that I call brother, and us all being in sync for the kids. We knew that there was a lot of talent on the team. We knew that they had aspirations. We knew that we had the tools to help, and they stuck with it, and they believed in us, and it obviously showed in their record and their success, that they believed in themselves too. And so it was a great year. It's always going to be one of my favorite years. It's always going to be one thing that I cherish the most. Spending that time out there on the field with you guys and with my little brother and all those kids, man. But
It was cool. Back
yeah.
to your son. All of this is just to bring it back so it makes sense. With these kids, think about it. Everything in their life is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So competition for their attention span is shorter, and everything is entertainment. So what I've learned from training from guys like Tony Holler from Feeding the Cats is that you got to make it fun, because people look at the sport of track and they kind of frown upon it because they hear all these horror stories. Well, why? Well, because you're gonna have to face yourself in the mirror. Like that's what it's about. It's not a sport of X's and O's. It's not a sport of 5 stars, 4 star, 3 star. Like it's not. It's a sport about you challenging you.
Yeah.
Like what's the best? That's why I encourage kids to do it, because it's the one sport that helps other sports. And it doesn't ask for much from you besides what you invest in.
Yeah.
And you're investing it in you. So it's not like you're investing it in some sport that's not going to be useful to you.
Yeah.
Once you have this information, once you have this experience, it's something you can carry with you for the rest of your life, because you're gonna need to know how to eat, how to get better sleep, how to take care of your body, how to recover from injuries. Like all of the fundamentals of that sport help you become a better human being.
Yeah.
So
The disciplines. Yeah. Disciplines.
that's what it is. It teaches you about getting knocked down and how you come back and how you bounce back and being resilient and overcoming adversity. We're all going to deal with adversity. every day. Every day you walk out the house, you deal with adversity. Every game we played in football, my coach is from Linfield. My coach Jay Losey, he used to say, "Hey, we know adversity is gonna come," and him saying that just allowed me to take a deep breath because I was expecting it.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised by it. When it happened in the game, I didn't break down and fall to pieces. I didn't see guys on the team do it either. It was like no big deal.
Yeah.
And so back to your son, the important thing is you got to find out if he really wants it. A friend of mine, Josh Barsh, is a head basketball coach back in Washington for Foss High School. And I worked with his basketball program in his first year. And they ended up becoming league champs and being ranked #1 going into playoffs. He used to train my daughter for me. And I was getting all the food and I was going to pick her up. She lived like an hour away from me. And I came back, I was driving her back to Tacoma just so she get trained. Then I drive her back home, drop her off, and then I'll come back, and go to work. And I was doing all this because as a parent, you want to provide all these opportunities that you didn't have, right? Because in our minds, we think we want better for our children, right? But who said that better was easy?
Yeah.
Because what was in that adversity, what was in those hard lessons, there was opportunities for us to learn. There was opportunities for us to build, who we are and who we became as adults. So I was taking her to Josh, and because he played, he played junior college ball, and he was MVP of the conference tournament, and then he went on to Montana State, played D1. And he was a friend of mine, and I knew that he coached, and he has like 5 or 6 younger brothers, and they all played. And so he's a hooper. He is a hooper mentality, hooper. And he was training. So I was like, man, okay, I'm gonna take you to somebody where this is their thing, and then I can just let you go. And I was talking to Josh one time, and he goes, "Is this a you thing or is this a her thing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, how can you tell?" Like, you can tell because, like, if she wants it, then she'll let you know. If not, then you'll be able to tell. And I had to sit back and think about it. My daughter enjoyed basketball, and you could tell she was a hooper, but did she want to go all in on it with the training and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Probably not. You know what I mean?
See, and that's
there you go.
And that's where I'm at with it now. After that happened, I'm like, man, you know what? We've been going through this for like the last 10 years. It's like, if you just want to come up, show up, and play, that's what we're just gonna do.
Yeah.
We're gonna support you. We're gonna be in the stand. We're gonna watch you play.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
But I'm still gonna put some. We still gotta get together. I just feel like
Still gonna be in here.
Yeah, I just feel like in my head, because as a kid, I didn't know what I wanted as a kid. You didn't know. I mean, you knew.
No, I didn't know.
But you ain't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But it was. You talked about it before, and when you first started, you had mentors in your life that kind of sculpted you. And I just feel he doesn't know now, but when he gets to that age, it might be next year or the year after, like he's still young, you're gonna say, like, okay, that's why we were doing this. Once he starts seeing those results, that's why we're doing this, okay? Yeah. And hopefully that's what he sees. Yeah. Because I'm still keep pushing him. Not pushing him, push him out of it, but we're gonna assist you. We're gonna bring you in here. We're gonna take you to Sonte. We're gonna take you to Jonah. Yeah. We're gonna take you here. Take you to the next level.
Yeah. To at least give him the tools.
Yeah.
At least so when that light switch, when he's got that switch of, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this.
Turn all the lights on.
When he powers the house on, you know what I mean? At least he got the tools.
No, it's true. The thing that I have learned with this generation is to use attraction. To find a way to attract them to it. initially, then allow them to have fun, because we think about it on our level,
Yeah.
because of what we know, but they don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So as much as you can, try to look at it from their point of view and just make it fun. Tony Holler talks about all the time, we made it fun at Harding.
Yep.
We made it fun. Like, I look back through my videos,
Yeah.
it was a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
It was and people would have thought that we weren't really doing a lot of work, but when we did that one experiment relay race,
Mhm.
I said, this is what I want you to look at. Look at how we condition,
Mhm.
because you know that, right? And watch what they do here.
Yep.
And then tell me, do they look like they're having fun?
Right.
And intensity wise, what type of intensity are they putting into it?
Are they giving 120?
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
did you see?
Listen, one
Because
time
I still
they
have
had
the
that.
video.
Oh man, the one time that we had that, and you weren't there that day. We had a coach that was like, we're making them run 110s, making them run 110s. And then, they started jogging them. And I was like, y'all see that? You think, why is our number one and number two running back behind? Why aren't they finishing first? Because they know you about to give them another one. And they hate this. Ain't no fun. There's no competition in this. You just making them run. They're going to go ahead and they're going to dog it. Because there's no repercussion for you. You're just going to make them run it again, and they already know it. So, real quick, I want to talk about, to kind of wrap this up, FastFam, hashtag FastFam. Okay, that's one thing I always see with your videos, and I wanna give you as much exposure and as much as I can, because when people watch this, I want them to look up that hashtag FastFam. They're gonna see everything that you've been doing, and I know you got a couple college football players that are in that FastFam. Josiah Martin's one of them. What is that? Can you kind of sum that up?
Yep.
Of what FastFam is and what they might be out there, looking at when they hashtag or when they look at the hashtag.
FastFam started really during COVID, but I was working with athletes before then.
Mhm.
So I just hadn't coined anything. I hadn't drew a line around anything.
Yeah.
And COVID hit. We were like 2 weeks into track season out in Washington when COVID hit and shut us down. So we didn't have a spring sports season.
Yeah.
And I had been approached by a dad who wanted me to train his soccer kids. He had a daughter and a son that were middle school, like elementary age. And I worked with them, and the person who had recommended me, she ran track and played soccer in college. And she talked to me and she texted me and said, hey, would you mind training my kids?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, because COVID hit. Hey, let's rewind it back. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how long we were going to be out. They didn't tell us that we weren't having a spring season yet. They were kind of giving us 1 week at a time information. Yeah. So I just said, hey, yeah, sure. We don't have track right now, so why not? And she had a son and a daughter. And then a friend of hers had a son and a daughter.
Mm.
And then some of my kids from my track team were from that same area. So they were looking for something to do.
Yep.
And I said, sure, come on out. And it just it took off from there, because I had a combination of different athletes. And what happened was when I was coaching football, I, I was having conversations with God, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to get stuck in football.
Yeah.
Like, I know I played it, and I know I love it, and I appreciate everything that it did for me, but it's not the only thing I can do.
Mhm.
And it's not the only person I can help. Like, while I was coaching down there at stadium, I used to see people come work out on the stairs. I saw soccer players come. I saw basketball players that are in the NBA now. Malachi Flynn, he's from Tacoma. He's point guard. He played for the Raptors. He was doing the stairs, and I just was, as long as I was there, I kept seeing all these different types of people come.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can help them because I can help him in basketball with jumping. I can help her in soccer with becoming more efficient. I can help. Look, there was lacrosse that came down, and I was like, I can do more, but no one knows me outside of football and track.
Mhm.
So I just was like, man, I want to work with other sports, but I only said, between me and him. And then out of the blue came like, hey, would you work with my kid? Hey, would you do? Hey, would you do? All the way up until now. So speed is always something that people recognize.
Yeah.
Right, because it's at the basis. Speed, power, explosion is always at the basis of all sports.
Yeah.
All sports can use it somehow, some way. They're all trying to find ways to improve upon it. So it's like its own secret sauce.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about it, I was like, I was going through things in my head and writing stuff down, and I came up with the acronym FAST.
Yep.
And that's Force Applicated Speed Training.
I don't think you ever told me that.
Come on, man.
I like that.
Isn't that slick?
I like that.
It is. Because there's people are talking speed this, speed that, speed this, speed that, and I was like, people talk about being fast, and what does that mean? And when I wrote it down one time, I was like, well, it's really about force application. That's what it is. That's what you learn, and then training.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And then the way that all of those kids were, especially during COVID, we were there for each other. Like, it was a family. They were brothers and sisters, and they were friends who had grew up together, and they had some kind of connection. And in order for you to come and feel comfortable, like, it has to be like a family type atmosphere. It's got to be a village. So it just made sense. I didn't want to put the whole family.
Yeah.
It's just two short syllable words. Fast fam. That's
Yep.
it.
So when y'all look up that hashtag, man, you're gonna be seeing a lot of kind of what we were talking about earlier with the building blocks.
So how do they find you though?
That's a good question. I don't make myself easy to be found, and that's on purpose.
Where's Waldo?
Come on.
It's up 23, bro. It's like- no, man. Yeah.
So like the easiest and the best ways is I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter or X.
Yeah.
Right. I even made an account on Threads, but I rarely check it.
I got a thread.
I'm not in the habit of
You got
checking
me
it.
on Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, Feet Finder, and then
What is
what's
that?
That's another episode.
Yeah.
That's another episode.
Is that a dating app?
No, man. It's
It could be.
people selling their feet pics online.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
website.
Oh yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Hey,
Feet Finder.
I am not mad. I'm not. So I would say that, and then also have it, an email address that's connected to it. I made an email address, fastfam18@gmail.com. The reason for that being is what I've come to find is that I can help everyone, but it doesn't mean that I'm meant to help everyone.
Yeah.
And so the people that I've trained, they all have some type of connection to me.
Mm.
Like Mason out there in Lexington,
Yep.
that was through you. And then now Alexis Burton is through you. And with all the Fast Fam, it was all people that I grew up with, I played on a team with, or played on a team against, went to college with, or competed against in college or something. It's all of those different. It's always a connection like that, and it's their kids or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, good, man. I'm glad that people are like I said with that hashtag FastFam, people are gonna look that up. And some of them are gonna try and emulate what they're seeing, but it ain't gonna be the same. But again, man, just the things that I've seen you do, and maybe do something that down the road, you can do some more work in here in Marion, or some work with Kingston. Because like I said, it's everybody knows how to run, but forming technique of sprinting and developing that athlete is completely different. So things that I've seen you do speaks for themselves. Everybody that you see hashtag FastFam, you share a lot of videos of people still out in Washington still doing this stuff. Like I said, he's got a couple athletes, part of the Fast Fam that are D1 athletes, college athletes, football players. So your work speaks for itself, man.
Well, it's really the work speaks for the kids. Like the Fast Fam alum that I have, it's a lot now. It's just like I'm getting older, and sometimes I forget. But going to the Hall of Fame event at Linfield last year allowed me to reconnect with people, because people were chiming in and sending messages and sending congratulations and whatever. I've now worked with all those different sports, like football and track, of course, boys and girls.
You got softball, Lexus,
softball, soccer, baseball, lacrosse, basketball. So volleyball. There's a bunch of different sports now, and it's just really the work that the kids put in. They have to want to do it.
Yep.
That's it. Like, you make it fun. I try to make it fun as much as I possibly can. But there's a lot of work involved. Competition, brings out the best in us.
Yep.
So providing that competition too, whether it's against self or whatever else, I usually like to focus it on the self. And that's just pretty much it. Like, you have as much fun as you can. You're going to learn at the same time, and you're going to compete. That's going to bring out the most. And I don't have to tell you to do it. I don't have to tell you need to work hard or whatever. That's not it. As long as you're competing and having a good time, you're going to go hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the kids, man. Kids that want to do it will end up doing it. And everybody's timing's different. Everybody's timing's different.
That's what it is. And the D1 kids, like, those are different type of people. Like Josiah Martin down in Texas, he came from Washington, but his dad, Damian Martin, and his mom, they're really close to me. They were some of the people who first started me training. I didn't know I was a trainer, and I was in a gym, and I saw this kid working out, and he was like 9. And this is a Saturday morning, and I had my eye on him, and I said, who's that kid? His dad overheard me asking, and he said, that's my son. And I was like, that's your son? Well, why is he here? Like, on a Saturday morning. And why is he going so hard? I was like, what is in him? What is going on with that kid? He laughed, and he said, that's Josiah. That's him. And that's him. And I had never heard that before. And he said, like, hey, I need you for my son. And I said, I don't understand what you're talking about. He goes, I need you for my son. And I go, I don't train. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. And so I pretty much ran. This is our joke, but we talked, and I ran from him for about 2 years. And running by meaning like I didn't commit,
Yeah.
and but I kept bumping into him at different places. And then finally, Josiah was like 11, turning 12, and I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And like I didn't make him. I don't take credit for him, or anything like that. I'm just happy for him.
Yeah.
Because he has a story to tell, and he was a smaller guy, and he was short at the time before he had hit his growth spurt, but he was really special in everything else he did.
Yeah.
And I used to hear the haters in the football dad community talking about it's too bad that he's so small. And I was thinking to myself, man, like, I don't see that as being a problem because he does everything so well. Like, he's so smart, and he processes information quickly, and he's an elite level athlete. You can tell he played quarterback and he played receiver. He was so calm, and he was so humble and peaceful that I just had never seen anything like that before in a kid at that age. And so I just did what I could, and I told him, what I thought. He picked it up, and so I knew he was gonna be like, I already knew he was gonna be.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but I knew he was gonna be. I told his parents early. I was like, I don't know who he is, but man, he is gonna be special. And you fast forward to now, they moved down to Dallas, Texas. He plays for a 6A high school, which is the top.
That's their D1.
Yes, that's their top level in Texas. And he plays for Denton Geyer. And last year was his first year there as a junior. And then this year, he was all district last year. And he had a 5-star quarterback and everything. And it never prevents him from doing the work. Like, he's steady. He's always in the process of developing himself. He never gets too high, never gets too low. He doesn't listen to the talk. He doesn't read his own clippings. He doesn't, he doesn't let the ego get to him. Like,
he's already got that college mindset. Well, listen, with that being said, I ordered your shirt today. You find out what his address is, and I'll send him a 740 shirt too. So be seen on campus with that thing, man.
Oh, for sure. And right now he's in the recruiting process because he originally was committed to Boston College, but he
decommitted.
Yeah, so he could reopen his recruitment, and now it's like,
did he have a Texas helmet on at one point?
He's been like, he has been recruited by 30 plus, like he has 30 plus Division I offers.
Yeah.
But since he moved to Texas in his sophomore season, and then the first school he went to, he got injured.
Okay.
As far as if you know how the rating system works and all that, he's not quite where he should be on the rating system. But when you watch him play, you can just tell. Like, this last weekend, he had, I want to say, 8 catches for like 160, 70 something yards and a couple touchdowns. And they won the game. I want to say they're either undefeated or they have one loss, and
they're going into playoffs. They're still playing this week.
He's ranked number 2 in 6A in the area in yards and touchdowns. Like,
nice.
But he's just been adding and developing. Like, he's a great kid, like, to get to know, but he is special, and I knew he was special early on. It just so happened that our paths crossed. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. It's always those instances, man, where God puts certain people in your life at certain times. So that's awesome. Shout out Josiah, man. Good luck in everything.
JoJo.
Yeah, good luck in everything, man. We're gonna be looking for you, especially when your name's getting called on Saturdays. Yeah, I know somebody knows him. Yeah, but no, I'll tell you, I appreciate you coming down. Definitely on short notice. Hit you up today about it. It's good to see you. It's been too long, and
Always.
you're just a plethora of knowledge when it comes to nutrition, the body.
Drop big gems today.
Yeah, you're gonna have some big clips to put out there, man. So
I like to drop the nuggets.
yeah,
That's what the athletes used to say. Be dropping nuggets.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I appreciate you big time for coming out, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to give a quick shout out because we didn't last week. We had just gotten the intro done. So shout out to Bash, man.
Oh yeah.
And
Bones on the beat.
And Bones on the beat, man. Chubby on the beat. I don't know what his thing is on there, but nonetheless, man, two Marion people collaborated. I mean, fast too on our intro song, man. So I appreciate y'all for doing that, supporting. And then also, I know y'all see this bomber jacket.
OG.
The OG member bomber jacket. That come out. But it's this one. It's a little tease because this is members only, fam. This is members only. But with that being said, the store is pretty much we're
Pretty much open.
We're pretty much open. We're working out a couple bugs, man, but check out that 740barbell.com.
740 barbell.
Yep. Got some merchandise on there. Got a program, an 8-week program that's about to drop. You guys can snag. But appreciate y'all hanging with us, man, and watching another episode of the Push and Weight Show. Dav, my man Tay.
And of course the courage in these veins, people passing the limits, a bunch of beasts broke off the chain. From the folks, see them growing and reaching up to pass our peak though.